Here's 11 honors, and we just have a few minutes here with Picture Day. We're going to look at chapters 24 through 29. Before we look at the questions, you've all three read it. I'm sure you did. Can you think of anything that struck you as interesting in it? Like yeah.
That they just believe him. They're like, oh yeah.
Who we talking about?
That they believe the king and the duke. Like I would never believe that.
And who's the they?
The sisters and like the town, Peter Wilkes' family.
Right.
He was like, oh yeah, they're definitely the long lost, like no proof at all.
Right. So this is an example of sentimentality at work. Mark Twain's making that point. Tell me why they believe him. Like you mentioned, what'd you say? They didn't think about it? Is that what you said?
I said they didn't show like a lot of proof. Like the only proof they had was that he knew like their names.
Right.
And some of he said that the dogs or like and like the people around them.
All right.
And that was kind of like the only proof.
So how do you explain it? How do you explain that they, in spite of that lack of proof, they fall for this con?
Well, they're like in a time of grieving.
Yes.
So they think that this is going to bring comfort to them.
Very good. And what did what is Mark Twain saying about the danger of sentimentality?
That you can get easily manipulated.
Right, because you're overcome by emotions. You're not thinking. And as you said, they don't ask for proof. They just believe it because their emotions are at work. And that's part of the problem is us. If we get conned, part of the problem is it's our fault because we didn't do our due diligence and check into it. All right, what about you, Isabella? Just anything. That was what Sarah mentioned.
I kind of forgot that we had to read it.
All right. Well, don't forget the next time because you're going to be reading, it's through chapter 35, and I think it's Wednesday. So let me go ahead and put that up here. It's 30 to 35.
Hey, can we have extra credit on the next quiz?
Yes.
Yes. So I can get on turn. The only thing that I wrote in my agenda for yesterday is to watch it.
See, this is where you're not doing it.
This is the way.
See, if you would have gone home and studied math. like I
Isabella,
did every
you
night.
see that up there?
Yes, I'm writing it right now.
What is today?
Today is the 28th of January. 1 month today will be the last day of February. I think, unless it's a leap year.
Wait, the 20th is Tuesday. Wait, am I in the right thing? Oh, I'm in December.
You're living in the past here.
I was like, what?
We're way past that.
Okay, you're right.
Okay, so do you have any comments about the book?
No.
Okay, how about Delaney?
I thought it was weird, like what Sierra was saying, just that like they would believe them so easily, even though that they were grieving, and the doctor told them that they were frauds, and they still didn't believe him.
All right, so they actually had somebody that tried to talk them out of it. Somebody they should have respected. Was it the doctor? Or was it a lawyer? The doctor. The doctor and the lawyer turn out to be the only people with any sense around here, which you would hope that would be the case with their occupations. So we've said that to be swindled, you have to be, what's the word? You have to be gullible, right? And sentimentality makes you more gullible. But what does it take to be a good swindler? Like, what do you see in these two guys that make them effective at what they do? They're really silly in some ways. If you had any sense, you ought to be able to see through it. But what is it that makes any swindler effective?
Their compassion. Not
They're what?
Their lies.
They're good liars.
Their fake of emotion.
They,
What am I trying to say?
I don't know.
The way they like express themselves, like the way they use emotion to persuade people.
Okay, so they use other people's emotions, they take advantage of other people's weaknesses, but to do that, they have to know their weakness, right? You can't take advantage of something you're not aware of. So they have to be smart enough to, what did they do, you mentioned it, I believe, what did they do ahead of time to help their cause, the Duke and the King? You mentioned how they knew anything about these people at all. How did they know anything about them?
When they were on the steamboat, there was a person, I can't remember who it was on the steamboat.
It was just a guy that was taking a trip up the river.
Yeah, and then he was talking about how someone just died, and it was like really sad because they just left, like they left the family, they never met the brothers, and then they talked about, and got to like the fortune, how much money he had, and so the king the king or the duke started asking more questions on like his personal life and like how old his daughters were and like all, so they have the most information they could.
So they actually did some prep work. They actually did their homework. So it takes some effort to be a good con man. Would you say, what else would you say? That they have information, so they worked at it. Yeah, you can't be lazy. A lazy con man would not be effective. What else would you say quality they had that made, they're good liars? You mentioned that. What else? What else does it take to be a good con man?
To look the part.
Yeah, of course, they've never seen them before, so that wasn't too hard to do. But to sound the part, in other words, they sounded like British people. These people had never met anybody from England. Wouldn't you say confidence would be a part of it? They actually, well, that's a different use of the word, but you have to be extremely bold and confident to do this. I have to come up to you, I can't be afraid of you. I have to come up to you and be very bold and pretend to be something. I mean, what does it take to be a good liar? Not that you all would know personally what that was like, but what does it take to be a good liar?
Believing in your lie.
You have to be convincing. You know it's a lie, but you have to sound like you believe it. You have to be very convincing and persuasive. So these guys are persuasive, and they're daring. They're risk takers. They risk failure, but they're willing to take it. So they're actually the things about them that you can almost admire. If they use those qualities for something good, their life, they wouldn't be swindlers. They'd be successful too. And you got to go, right? Are you leaving with her?
Yeah.
And you can get Aurora back in here. We're going to just spend the rest of the period you can read, because the next 6 chapters are due. I don't know how many pages. Yeah. Or you can read with her, whatever you want to do.
Yes, I'm bringing my stuff. Have fun.
Can I have like time to work on this project that I have to do?
Yeah, you can do that, but you just make sure that you've read the material by next week. Yeah, we'll see ya. Are you going to be back?
I don't think so.
All right, see ya. Yeah, I'm just gonna let you use this time to read. She's gonna work on the project. You're probably behind in other courses too.